Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk to you about one of the most profound aspects of our lives, desire. Desire shapes our actions, our relationships, and ultimately the direction of our lives. But not every desire comes from a pure place, nor does every desire align with the path God has set for us. Some desires come from our own will, driven by personal needs and insecurities, while others come directly from the heart of God, guiding us toward His divine purpose. The question is, how can we discern the difference? Let me share with you 4 key signs that will help you identify whether your desire for someone is from God or from yourself. When you recognize these signs, you will know that your heart is aligned with God's will and you can move forward with confidence and peace. Desire is a powerful force within each of us. It stirs our hearts, fuels our actions, it shapes the very course of our lives. Yet, it is crucial to understand that not all desires are created equal. Some desires are born from the deepest parts of who we are, and others are shaped by external influences, fleeting emotions, or temporary needs. There's a delicate distinction between the desires that come from our own will and the desires that flow from the heart of God. As human beings, we are driven by an innate longing for connection, purpose, and fulfillment. These desires, when left unchecked, can lead us down paths that may not align with our true calling or destiny. It is in this journey of understanding our desires that we find the key to unlocking a life that is rich with meaning and aligned with God's plan. For there is nothing more empowering than knowing that the desires we carry within us are not merely products of our own thoughts and wants, but reflections of a higher calling, a divine purpose meant to propel us forward. But how do we distinguish between a desire that originates from the deep well of our own soul and one that comes from the divine? How can we tell when our yearnings are in alignment with God's will and when they are shaped by our own limited understanding of the world? The answer lies in our ability to recognize the signs that God places before us, guiding us through the noise of our own will. God is not distant or passive when it comes to the desires He plants in our hearts. He is intentional. He knows the desires that will move us closer to His purpose for our lives. And He is always speaking to us, even through the longings we feel. When we understand the true nature of desire, how it can either lead us toward our divine destiny or pull us into distraction and detours, we begin to see the importance of being in tune with God's voice. For in knowing His will, we can discern the desires that come from Him, knowing that these are the ones that will bear fruit in our lives and in the lives of others. The journey of understanding our desires is not about suppressing them, but rather about learning to filter them through the lens of our higher purpose, trusting that the desires God places within us will never lead us astray, but will always lead us into His perfect plan. This understanding opens the door to a deeper connection with our true selves and a greater fulfillment of our divine purpose. It is a journey of trusting God to reveal the deeper longings within us and showing us how to align those desires with His will so we can live in harmony with His divine plan for our lives. When we talk about desire, it's not just a fleeting feeling or a passing wish, it's a deep yearning, a force that drives us towards something greater. But how do we know if the desires we have are from God or if they are merely products of our own imagination and selfish longings? One of the clearest signs that a desire comes from God is that it aligns with your purpose. Each one of us was born with a unique purpose, a divine calling that was written into the fabric of our being before we ever took our first breath. It is this purpose that gives us meaning and direction, and when we pursue it, we begin to experience the fullness of life. Now, the desires that God places in our hearts will always lead us back to that purpose. They will never contradict the calling He has placed upon our lives. They will always serve to move us closer to who He created us to be. You See, the God who made you knows exactly what you need to fulfill your purpose. He doesn't give you desires that will distract you or lead you away from His plan. No, His desires are always in alignment with the destiny He has designed for you. This is why when you experience a desire that feels like it's pulling you towards someone, you must stop and ask, does this relationship align with the person I am meant to become? If it does, then you can be certain that God is at work in that desire. Think about it for a moment. If you're pursuing a relationship or a connection that is truly from God, it will always help you grow, evolve, and step into your purpose more fully. It will challenge you to become the best version of yourself, not the version you are right now. That's how you know it's from Him, because the desire will always lead you toward growth and transformation. Relationships that align with your purpose don't drag you into confusion, nor do they require you to compromise your values or identity. Instead, they help you find clarity and strengthen your identity in Christ. This is why when God places someone in your heart, there is a peace that accompanies it. You won't feel torn between who you are and who you're becoming. You won't feel like you're constantly compromising or losing yourself in the process. Instead, you will feel an unwavering sense of alignment, where your purpose and your desire merge into one. The relationship won't pull you away from God. It will pull you closer to Him. It will serve as a tool for His refining work in your life, pushing you forward into everything He has called you to be. As you walk this journey, I want to remind you that God's plan for your life is perfect. His timing, His guidance, and the desires He places in your heart are not random or accidental. They are carefully crafted to bring you closer to your purpose. So when a desire arises, take a moment to reflect and ask, is this leading me toward the person God has called me to be? Is it drawing me closer to my higher purpose? If it does, know that it is a clear sign that this desire is from God, and you can move forward with confidence, trusting that He is leading you exactly where you need to go. When God places a desire in your heart, it is not merely for your comfort or satisfaction. It is meant to lead you toward a greater purpose, your transformation. God's desires for you are always linked to your growth. The desire He places within you will not leave you stagnant, but it will push you toward the fullness of who He has created you to be. Think about it. When you walk in alignment with God's purpose, everything changes. It's as if the ground beneath you is shifting, forming into something stronger, more resilient, more aligned with your true self. When a relationship is ordained by God, it will require growth from both you and the other person. God does not call us to stay the same. He calls us to evolve, to become better versions of ourselves. This growth often comes through challenges, through the uncomfortable seasons where we are stretched beyond our current capacity. But that's the beauty of God's divine desires. They don't settle for mediocrity. They push us to become our best selves, to step into the potential He has placed inside of us. There will be moments when it feels difficult. You will face trials, misunderstandings, and perhaps even times of tension. But that's when you must remind yourself that this process is shaping you. It's refining you. These challenges are not setbacks. They are stepping stones toward your spiritual maturity and emotional strength. You will find yourself growing in ways that you could never have imagined. You will discover strengths within you that you didn't know existed, talents that were hidden, wisdom that will only emerge through experience. And in this process, you will realize that the person God has placed in your life is not just a companion or a partner. They are a tool in your transformation. This growth is never about achieving perfection. It's about progress. God desires to see you evolve and mature in your character, in your faith, and in your ability to love unconditionally. When your desire for someone is rooted in God's plan, it will bring you to a place of maturity spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. It will teach you patience, understanding, compassion, and forgiveness. It will help you see beyond your own limitations, encouraging you to look at the bigger picture, the eternal purpose that God has in mind. A relationship that is from God will help you heal, grow, and transform into someone who reflects His love more clearly. It will not merely make you feel good in the moment, it will refine you. You will become stronger through the difficulties, and your faith will grow as you navigate this journey together. The love that God fosters through this relationship will help you grow in ways you never thought possible. You will see yourself differently, and you will see the other person differently as someone who is also on a journey of growth and transformation. And together you will both move forward into a future that aligns with God's purpose. God's desires always lead us toward a higher calling. When He plants a desire for someone in your heart, it will never leave you in the same place you started. It will stretch you, challenge you, and transform you into someone who is better equipped to serve His purpose. It is a journey of becoming more than you were yesterday, becoming the person God has destined you to be, and ultimately reflecting His image more clearly in the world. And in that transformation, you will find the peace and joy that come from knowing that you are walking in the fullness of God's will for your life. When God places a desire in your heart, He doesn't leave you in turmoil or confusion. Instead, He surrounds that desire with peace. You see, peace is a hallmark of God's presence in your life. It is not just the absence of chaos or noise, but the profound sense of calm that comes from knowing you are walking in alignment with His will. When you feel peace, even in moments of uncertainty, that is a powerful confirmation that God's hand is in it. It's as if, despite the storm around you, there's an anchor in your soul holding you steady. You may not have all the answers or understand every step of the journey, but peace settles your heart, knowing that the God who knows the end from the beginning is guiding you through the process. On the other hand, when desires come from our own will, they often bring anxiety. This is because our own desires are often tied to our limited understanding. We are driven by fear, the fear of missing out, the fear of not being enough, or the fear of not getting what we want. This kind of anxiety pulls us in many directions, making us doubt ourselves and our decisions. When we are not anchored in peace, we feel unsettled. We question everything, whether we're making the right choices, whether the timing is right, or even whether we're worthy of what we desire. But God's desires are never meant to leave us in that kind of turmoil. His will, although it may lead us into unfamiliar territories, is always accompanied by peace. It's the peace that surpasses understanding, the peace that lets us know deep down that we are in the right place at the right time. This peace doesn't always make sense to the world around us. It doesn't mean that there won't be challenges or difficult decisions. But it does mean that we can rest in the assurance that God is in control. This peace is not passive. It is active and living. It steadies you when you're faced with tough decisions, calms your heart when everything seems uncertain, and allows you to move forward with confidence, even when the way ahead is not entirely clear. You don't have to have all the answers, and you don't need to force things into existence. When the desire is from God, it brings a peaceful confidence that allows you to trust in His perfect timing and plan. If you're feeling anxious, constantly worried, or second-guessing yourself about a desire, it's time to pause and reflect. Anxiety is often a sign that something is off. It's a signal that we're relying on our own understanding and not on God's guidance. It's important to check whether you are trying to make something happen in your own strength, or if you are trusting God's leading. If your desire brings constant worry or inner turmoil, it may not be from God. But when peace accompanies the desire, even when you can't see the full picture, you can be certain that God is with you, leading you every step of the way. In the midst of uncertainty, let peace be your guide. Let it be the measure by which you test every desire, every decision. If peace is present, trust that you are walking in the will of God. If anxiety overwhelms you, take a step back and surrender the desire to God. Seek His guidance and allow Him to direct your steps. When God is in the desire, peace will reign. It's His promise. When we speak of love, we often think of emotions, those fleeting, passionate feelings that sweep over us and fill our hearts. But the love that God places in our hearts is far deeper than that. It is a love that transcends emotions and circumstances. It is unconditional. It does not waver with the changing tides of life. God's love for us is steadfast, always patient, always kind, and always seeking the best for us. And when God places a desire in your heart for someone, that desire reflects His unconditional love. You see, God's love is not driven by need or insecurity. It does not seek to possess or control. It does not demand or manipulate. Instead, it is a selfless love that prioritizes the well-being of the other person. It is a love that desires the growth, happiness, and peace of the other person, even at the expense of one's own desires. This is the love that God calls us to reflect in our relationships. If you find yourself desiring someone and that desire is rooted in a sense of ownership, fear, or selfishness, then it is likely not from God. For when our desires come from our own will, they are often driven by insecurity and need to fill a void within ourselves. We desire people because we feel they will complete us, because we need them to validate our worth, or because we are afraid of being alone. These desires are often selfish and ultimately unsatisfying because they are based on our own limitations. They are born out of the fear that we are not enough on our own. But when God places a desire in your heart for someone, it will not be driven by any of those things. Instead, it will be rooted in unconditional love that is not seeking anything in return. It is a love that is more concerned with the other person's growth, peace, and well-being than with your own needs or desires. This is the kind of love that reflects the nature of God, who loved us before we even knew how to love ourselves. It is the kind of love that is patient and kind, that does not envy or boast, and that is not easily angered. It is a love that endures all things and believes all things. True God-given love is not about what you can gain from the relationship, but about what you can give. It is about supporting the other person's dreams and helping them become who God has called them to be. It is about encouraging them through their struggles and standing by them through their challenges. It is about lifting them up when they are down and cheering for them when they succeed. This kind of love is unconditional. It does not depend on the other person's actions or behaviors. It is not based on what you get in return, but on the joy of seeing the other person thrive. When God places a desire for someone in your heart, that desire will always point you towards selflessness. It will lead you to serve the other person, to be there for them in their time of need, and to celebrate their victories. It will not lead you to demand or expect, but to give, to support, and to encourage. The desire will reflect the same love that God has shown us, a love that is pure, unselfish, and free from manipulation. So examine the desires you have for others. Are they rooted in the kind of love that God has for us? Are they unconditional, sacrificial, and selfless? Or are they driven by selfish needs, expectations, and fears? When your desire for someone comes from God, it will be a love that sets you both free to grow, to thrive, and to become the people that God has called you to be. It will not bind you, but will lift you both up to new heights. And that is the hallmark of divine love, love that gives, love that sacrifices, and love that brings freedom and peace. As you reflect on these 4 signs: alignment with your purpose, growth and transformation, peace over anxiety, and unconditional love, understand that God's desires for you are always designed to lead you into something greater than you could ever imagine. The desires He places in your heart are not for fleeting pleasure or temporary satisfaction, but for your ultimate growth, fulfillment, and purpose in His kingdom. When you trust in His timing, when you allow His peace to guide you, and when you embrace love that is unconditional and selfless, you will know that you are walking in His will. It's not always easy to discern at first, but as you grow in your relationship with Him, His voice becomes clearer and His desires for your life become more evident. So let go of the doubts, let go of the fear, and trust that the God who created you knows exactly what you need. Allow His desires to shape your heart, your relationships, and your life. And as you do, you will find a peace that surpasses all understanding, a peace that confirms you are exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what He has called you to do. Walk confidently in the desires that God places in your heart, knowing that He is always with you, guiding you and leading you toward His perfect plan. May you experience His peace, His love, and His purpose in every area of your life.